What's happening? I believe that we are now live with this fancy new software I'm using. I don't know that for sure, but it looks like we are in the game. What's happening, everyone? Everyone who is potentially joining me today for the next, I don't really know how long. Could be 20 minutes, could be an hour. We'll see what happens. But why are we here? What is the point? What am I doing here? What am I trying to achieve? So as you guys know, being members of this esteemed group here, over the last year and change, I chose 40 things that I wanted to do for my 40th birthday and did them. This right now is number 40. So my thought was that I wanted to have a place here where everything is encapsulated in one piece of content, this video, or audio, whatever it may be, because right now I would have to search through the whole Facebook group, and I found that pretty annoying to look back on some of the things that I have done over the last year and change. So this right now is a way for me to have one piece of content that I can go back on in 10, 20 years, my kids can watch or whatever, where I talk about everything in one shot without having to go piece by piece and piecemeal. So I find that to be, I assume it's going to be pretty useful. But the reality is, what we're really here to answer is one question, and that's, am I wearing pants right now or not? We'll see if we can get to the bottom of that by the end of this thing. So what I really want to start off with is just sorry, I'm playing around with this software as we go. What I really want to start with is a thank you for anyone out there, whether you're listening right now or not, that has given me and given this group any time or attention over the last year or so. Obviously, that's the most valuable asset we have, time and attention. So if you were kind enough to give some of that to the group, to myself, I appreciate you, and I appreciate that. Especially the participators, and those are people who were, active more than others in the group, liking, commenting. I see you, I saw you, and I really appreciate you guys being a part of this journey. And even a step further, action takers, people who actually did any of their own 40 things, and whether it was 1 or 10 or 20, it's probably more than most people. So if this group and this whole project idea inspired you or motivated you to go out and do something that you hadn't done in a while, or that you always wanted to do but never did, and you actually went out and did it, well, then it was well worth it. And finally, I really want to thank the 20 or so people who were guests on the Past the 40 podcast, because that allowed me to get a little more intimate with people that I don't get to see as often, or people I haven't really spoken to in, 15, 20 years. So that was just an awesome project, and that's something that I don't plan on fully stopping. I've been reaching out to people about getting some new guests on, and I still need to be my own guest on that, and that is coming. This is not taking the place of that. That will happen shortly, I promise. But I love that project. I really enjoy it. I really love connecting with the people. I like the format. I just think it kind of flows. It's kind of cool, and it's a great piece of content for people to have moving forward. So if you're listening and actually want to hop on, no matter how old you may be, if you turned 40 a year ago, year and a half ago, or aren't going to for another year, we can still talk about that. So moving on to the list. I'm hoping that you can see the list that is up on the screen right now. I got a little fancy and posted it right there so I can refer to it, and so can you as we go, kind of like pardon the interruption style. If you just want to, if you're out there watching and you could just confirm in the comment box that you can see the list and everything there, just please let me know. So 3 things that were on my list that I did not do, or that I replaced along the way, were 1, family tree, And I actually took a little initiative for this one. I signed up for Ancestry.com. I got one of those packets where like I sent away like my I don't remember, like spit into a glass or something, like my saliva, somehow some DNA tracker, um, and they got back to me saying you are a lame Caucasian, which I pretty much knew, and there was nothing more exciting to me other than that. So with that, I just decided not to go forward with that down that path. And it ends up that in order to do like a real family tree, like I was thinking, like I really want to find shit out, you need to have a lot of input, and I don't have inputs. So, or I didn't want to take the time to do that right now. Ultimately, would that be a cool undertaking for sure? Just this wasn't the time, and these were all things that I wanted to be able to kind of, sit down, do, and check off the list. And family tree just wasn't one of them, so I moved on. The other two, gospel brunch, which is something I still want to do. It's on Sunday afternoon, so football season was kind of out, and just getting. I didn't know if kids were welcome there or not. It just didn't fit into the schedule. Didn't make it happen. And finally was a knife skills class, which is certainly something I still want to do. And it ends up that out of all cooking classes out there, knife skills are really, really popular. So as I tried to squeeze it in the last month or so, um, everything was full, and I just like couldn't fit it into the schedule. So those three things were replaced, but otherwise we knocked out the rest. And we're going to talk about them right now. As you can see, they're up on the screen right now. So let's start at the top. Number 1, Russian and Turkish baths. And I'm going to shout out people who did these with me because I really appreciate that. I love the idea of including people along the way in this and getting to experience some of these things with people that are important to me. So Russian and Turkish baths. Mikey Deutsch, who's not on Facebook actually, or not as far as you know. Russian Turkish bathhouse is a famous institution on 10th Street in the East Village, and always wanted to go there. I might have actually gone 20 years ago, but one quick little anecdote from this trip, and not all 40 of these am I going to go into in depth because we'll be here all day, and I have birthday dinner tonight. So some of them I'll just go really fast through that are obvious, and some of them are little anecdotes. So this was my first thing, and so we did two treatments when we were there. One was the plaza where they like beat you with an oak leaf in like the hottest sauna ever, which was weird, but whatever, cool. The other was a like mud bath. So I was in my private room, butt naked, and I had this dude, this like Russian bodybuilder type dude, apply mud all over my body. And when I say all over, I really mean all over. And it got a little uncomfortable in the situation there. Now, I don't want to, I assume that this is normal. This is what people do there. But I want to just put out to you guys, since we're recapping this, and this is my, all-in look back, and I want the reminder of this, that on my first task of these 40 things, I was violated by a Russian bodybuilder, essentially. And I don't want to speak for Michael, who was in the stall next door, and it was the same guy going back and forth. I don't want to speak for him because this is private, whether or not that happened to him. But it did happen to me. So that was a great way to kick this off. I almost aborted the whole mission right there. Nonetheless, we move on. Number 2, Fribble. Fribble is a milkshake from Friendly's. I grew up walking distance from Friendly's, and I fucking love milkshakes and ice cream. So I wanted to go back and have a milkshake. I didn't go to the one by my house. Doesn't exist anymore. I went with Rachel, one of my oldest girlfriends, and Bodi, my oldest son. We went to, I think, Jersey. It was like an hour drive out of the city, and kicked back a strawberry and vanilla, shared it with my guy, and obviously it was super delicious. Number 3, Scratch Academy. That is a DJ school. One regret I had growing up, I wish when I was, 14 or so, I really got into DJing because it's, I'm a huge music guy, and I think it's something that I could have been decent at. It was so much fun. I had a one-on-one class with this guy who was an awesome teacher. Got to pick the records that I wanted to play. It was real turntables, not like bullshit CD stuff that they do now. We're all digital. I had an incredible amount of fun. If my if my situation in life was a little different, I would like certainly go back and like take more classes. I loved it. Great experience. Highly recommend. Number 4, watched Catch 22. So Joe Heller is my uncle, or my great uncle. He's my dad's uncle on my grandfather's brother on my dad's side, and he wrote Catch 22. You might have heard of it. I had read the book. I had never watched the movie, which was critically acclaimed. So I just wanted to get that in. Something I always wanted to do. So bang that out. Listened to a Tupac album. I've never been a Tupac guy. I'm an East Coast 1990s dude, and I just never got into Tupac. But I know he is a poet and a genius and an activist and somebody that I like as his being. But I never got into his music. So I was like, all right, one of these things I want to sit down in a room by myself, no distraction, listen to a Tupac album, which I did, and still didn't love it. It was just okay for me, and I don't want to disparage the great name of Tupac Shakur here, but just I don't know. Somehow the actual music is just not for me. Tattoo, number 6. The tattoo, it is still here, right there. Hasn't gone anywhere, and I don't plan it to leave anytime soon. ABCD, that is a family tattoo for my foursome, Alexis, Bodi, Chris, and Dre, the intimate Heller clan. Very happy with that decision. Look down on it often, and I'm always happy that I chose to do that. 7, Statue of Liberty, with my boy Eric Gershman. Still waiting for you to post your list here in the group, Eric. And we took Bodi, my boy. And it was freezing, but it was very cool. It's amazing how many things like that are just around New York that I just take for granted, have never done, don't ever do, and just I'm glad that I was able to do that. Obviously, that was also, it was in like, the way I'm going through this is in chronological order, so this was like January. This is like a little bit, right after our so-called president was inaugurated, so immigration was a big talking point on the table, on the news and whatnot, and so being in the Statue of Liberty in that time, something even happened like that day major in the news, like it does every day, which made it more cool to be there in that moment. Number 8, have a catch. This I got to do with my little brother Luke, and I did it in LA, in the street in front of my best friend Adam's house. Now, I love having a catch. Like, and how often? When was the last time you had a catch? It just doesn't get. You just don't do it that often. My kids are not old enough yet. When they are old enough, we will have many a catch in our day. But the really cool thing behind this story is what I was doing in LA for those 30 hours. I can't go into too much detail, but if I knew that this was happening before the year started, this certainly would have been on my list. But to give the headline without going into details of what actually occurred, my friend who's in production out there calls me and says, I have a meeting scheduled with the RZA from Wu-Tang to talk about some potential projects together. I'd like for you to come. I don't know, I guess like I bring some street cred to the room, and just obviously I'm a creative person, and just to shoot ideas around or whatever. So it was me, my friend, and RZA in the room for an hour in Los Angeles talking about potential RZA-related projects. What happened in that room, or what came of that, or what may be coming from that, I'm not at liberty to discuss. But that led me to LA, and Luke, my little bro, initially when I put out this list said, I call having a catch. So I happened to be in LA in February, and we banged that out. Number 9, Lakers game. That was actually a year ago tomorrow, February 6th. My dad's best friend growing up, Alan, who lives in Brooklyn, very close to me, he has season tickets that I go with him a couple times a year. He happened to be out of town for the Lakers game. So he gave me the seats. I went with my guy, Eric Sealove, and it was Lakers-Knicks. So I didn't go to a Laker game in LA. I went to a Laker game in New York, but same thing. I'm a diehard Lakers fan, have been all my life, fell in love with Magic Johnson at a very young age. We could talk about that for 2 hours, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. If you want to hear more about my Laker fandom, then hit me up and we will go through that. Number 10, give blood. That's something I wanted to make a habit. Haven't been back since. They call me every day to do so, though. It is something I want to continue to do, though. Giving blood, great for whoever gets it, and also good for your body. 11, lunch with my 6th grade teacher. This was one of my favorite things. I reached out to Mr. Zarrett. I found out he was still in the Jericho school system, not where I went to elementary school, but like the sister school, whatever you want to call it. Reached out, however I did, email, phone, whatever. Set it up, drove out to Long Island, and the two of us went for lunch. And Charlene, another one of my old Jericho girlfriends, she came and joined us for a bit, and it was fantastic. I hadn't seen him, probably, I think he came to my high school graduation. I might have seen him there. But other than that, 30 years later, I was 12 in 6th grade, and, thinking back on it, it was his second year as a teacher, so he was like a punk 24, 25-year-old kid, which is probably why we got along. I was a mature 12-year-old, so I look back and we were like friends. So it was like getting back to an old friend who I used to refer to as Mr. and now I call Mike. We had a great lunch for 3 hours, and I've emailed with him since, and it was great to see him. Really, really enjoyed that one. Number 12, Peter Luger with Mom. Not something we do often. It's usually our go-to spot to kind of meet in between in Great Neck, her coming from Long Island, me coming from the city. And even though we've done it many times, it was just something I wanted to have one of these things that were specific to do with my mom, who might be watching right now for all I know. Number 13, sunrise on a New York City bridge. This one sounds simple, but this one stands out as very special to me, actually. So I used to live on the Lower East Side on Delancey Street, which is on the corner of Delancey and Forsyth. And if you don't know, the Williamsburg Bridge, when it leads into the city, it leads to Delancey. So every day I had a view of the Williamsburg Bridge for the last, for 4 years. And even prior to that, I lived not too far north. So I was always in this area near the Williamsburg Bridge. So ends up that April 1st of last year, I moved to Brooklyn with my family, obviously. So we did this one on our last day in New York, in living in the city. So essentially, it was, a bridge that connects Manhattan to Brooklyn on the day that I was leaving Manhattan, leaving my life in Manhattan and moving it to Brooklyn after many, many years in the city. It's pretty much all I've known. And just being up there, we went, 5 in the morning. I forget what time sunrise was, but it was myself, Alexis, our 2 boys, and we woke up super early, went up there, watched the sunrise, and it just, for some reason, it just stands out as a moment through this whole thing. And actually, I have a picture of the sun with Alexis and I up in our house, actually, right now. So that was a great one, sunrise on the New York City Bridge. 14, cook sous vide steak. So sous vide is a technique for cooking steaks. That's something I'd never done before. For cooking any food, actually. One of my best friends, Jared, he's a big sous vide these days. So he came over, took the lead. We got some Japanese washagu from this place on Bond Street, Japanese premium beef, which I highly recommend. Whether sous videing or not, it's some of the best beef that I've had in a long time. It's incredible. Even if I just throw it on the grill, it's outstanding. Pricey for sure, but well worth it. I haven't sous vide anything since that day. The process is mad cool and something I should be more involved with because it's a lot more hands-off than the other cooking that I do. But the steak was delicious, obviously. 15, try Ethiopian food. Shout out to Emma and Lisa, who took me and Alexis and our boys to a place in the village. Forget the name of it right now. So Ethiopian, why did I choose that over any other delicacy? I don't know. Just kind of came out one day. It could have been anything. I just wanted to try something new. I enjoyed it. Haven't been back since. I'm just amazed by culturally that this is the way they eat, where it's just kind of piles of food on a for lack of a better word, tortilla. They're kind of bread tortilla, and you just kind of take the bread and slop it all up and eat it. And thoroughly enjoyed the meal. Would go back, but I want to start. Actually, spoke to Emma today about maybe doing Jamaican next. So want to start trying more things that I have not done before. 16, Shaolin Temple. I actually did these next three things all on the same night. Pretty big night for me. Shaolin Temple. I took a class there, a Tai Chi class. So Tai Chi, have been big into meditation over the last however many years. And Tai Chi is, meditation in its physical form. So, and also this is a place where the RZA actually goes to practice anytime he's in New York. So I thought that was a cool little feature, and the master there is like down with Wu-Tang. So I took a Tai Chi class, very cool. It was like 3 other people in my class. I was one of the beginners, obviously. I don't remember the whole thing, but very glad I did that. Next was arcade. Just love playing video games. Again, Michael Deutsch, shout out. He was on 2 of these 40. He came and met me at the arcade on Essex Street, played some games for a little bit, bring me back to childhood. I'm really badass at Galaga. Got some Centipede and Donkey Kong in as well. Solo dinner, number 18. After the arcade, I kicked Mikey to the curb, and I went to Contra on the Lower East Side on Ludlow Street, I believe. I had been there once before. Really quality food, tasting menu, different every day. Like no options. It's just like, here's what you're eating, and it was fantastic. Number 19, fly a plane. I went and took a lesson up in Westchester. My pilot was Pat, and the 2 of us went up for a flight for a half hour over the Verrazano Bridge or Tappan Zee Bridge, and flew a plane. Even wore goggles and glasses like a fighter pilot to prove it, to make it more legitimate. Number 20, obstacle course race. So this was great. I did the Rugged Maniac. It's the in the same field as what's the popular ones? The Tough Mudder and the Spartan Race, I guess, are the 2 big ones, mainstream. This is not as popular, but same idea, probably not as strenuous and hardcore. I didn't do it to race. Shout out to Scott, Jared, Danny, and Danny's wife, Jen. They joined me. You might have seen the picture. We had past the 40 jerseys made up, which was awesome. And it was a gorgeous day. We got to do it. A little more running than I expected. Thought it was going to be more. All the obstacles were like kind of packed into the back end, so it was a lot of running up front. Then just running ain't my thing. But overall, very fun day. I could definitely see myself doing that again. So there's the first 20. Take a quick minute right now from the list. One other thing that I did throughout the year, just kind of on a whim, I did 40 days in a row of the question of the day. I happened to stumble upon this Know Yourself box of questions, which are just like a series of just introspective questions about yourself to make you think about the world, whatever. So I decided pretty randomly that every day I'm going to read one and answer it, and I posted it in the group 40 days in a row. And I hit all 40 days without missing one. If you ever want to see those, they're actually up on my YouTube channel, which I have not told anyone about yet until this moment. But I plan on doing that soon. So it's at chrisheller.me on YouTube if you want to go check those out. And also some of the other videos that I took here from flying a plane. I don't know what else, but there's a handful of videos from this list of 40 that are up there too. Some of the podcasts that I've done are up there as in video form. So that's YouTube at chrisheller.me. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. So number 21, day trip with Bodi. So one thing really stands out from this, and it's just a little tiny piece of the day. So I was doing Instagram stories of the day, which I hadn't really done at all, but that's not the point. So one thing I really remember so vividly is we get in the car in the morning. I'm sitting in the driver's seat, obviously. Bodi is diagonal across from me in the back seat in his seat, and I turned to him with the story thing. I'm like, Bodi, what are we doing today? I'm like, Bodi, where are we going today? And he goes, Diggerland, and then I go 2 times for Diggerland, and he goes. I don't know. It's just this moment that stands out in my mind. It's like so burned in there, and it was just so adorable, and I love it. Anyway, we drove to this place called Diggerland, which is just like I don't remember. I don't remember where it was. Somewhere in Jersey, maybe like an hour and a half away. We stopped at IHOP on the way, got some pancakes and fun stuff like that. And Diggerland is just this kind of amusement park for little kids with just trucks and diggers and cranes, and you get to kind of control it all. And back then, he's not anymore, but he was like infatuated with trucks. So that was just an awesome day. Anytime I get to do stuff with the boys is always a treat. 22, hip hop karaoke. That was at Brooklyn Bowl. I've done hip hop karaoke before, never at Brooklyn Bowl with like a real, like, that's like a big venue with a big stage. I've done it a couple other times, like Mercury Bar, which is much smaller and intimate. So the way hip hop karaoke works for these guys, it's like, it's not regular karaoke. It's like you go up there and you're in concert. Like I don't have the words anywhere. Like I just did it from what I knew. I did Biggie. They let me do 2 Biggie songs because I chose 2 small ones. I did a acapella Biggie freestyle, and then I went into Where Brooklyn At freestyle. That was awesome. I love doing that. Anytime I could do that. Again, that is, if you didn't see the video, that is now, besides the Facebook group, it's also available on the YouTube page, chrisheller.me. Ton of fun. 23, roller skating. Went with Jared Margulies and Jamie Moskowitz, J Mama, my old roller skating buddy at the Roxy on Wednesday nights. I just love roller skating. Just one of those things that makes me happy. I used to go to the Roxy on Wednesday all the time. Used to roller skate as a kid in camp, roller hockey. I have my own roller skates that I used to frolic around the city very often with Lauren Baker as just a thing to do during the day. I haven't done that in a while since I tore my Achilles in 2011. I haven't been out in the streets there, but we did go. Where was this? This was at Brooklyn Bridge Park. They have like adult skating night over the summer where they play disco music, and a lot of former faces from the Roxy are there. Just people are happy when they're on skates. Just trust me about this. It's true. 24, boys' dinner. So this one I didn't have to plan. I just hopped on the back of a Adam Glantz, Michael Deutsch birthday celebration when Glantz was in town. It was about 20 dudes, many of who would have been invited if I planned it. So at that point I just said, all right, this is my boys' dinner. We went to steak somewhere. You've all been there before, I'm sure. Nothing too fancy, just a bunch of dudes in a room eating meat. 25, camping. I'm not a big camping person, but I may turn into one. So my family met up with my wife's friends from college, Justin and Eliza, who live in Boston, and also Sarah came with us, another friend of the family. We stopped in New Hampshire at a campground. We only did one night. We had the biggest tent of all time. We borrowed a tent from our friends, and it was this 10-person mansion. Bodi was in there. We fit a pack and play for Dre in there. We were in there. It was just massive. And I enjoyed it. Justin, our friend who was there, happens to be like an experienced camper since his family's been doing it since he was, 5 years old. So he came like incredibly prepared, like had everything you could possibly need, which made it very seamless, just kind of following his lead. I even had those like headband things you wear around that have like a light on them. But it was very civilized campgrounds, like you could walk to like a bathroom place. So I think next year we're going to try to make it a yearly summer thing. Bodi loved it too, so the kids get into it early. I definitely like that idea. Alexis is super into camping in general, so it's something we plan to do more of. And maybe next year we do 2 nights. Maybe it's not as like nice, a little more grimy, but we'll see what happens with that. 26, Adventure Park. Got to do something with my brother-in-law Mark and my nephews Jake and Sam. Adventure Park is out on Long Island. It's like a ropes course. It was awesome until I got a little banged up. Thought I was a little cooler than I am, and kind of went flying into a tree, but was well worth it. Had a lot of fun, and it was a great day being outside with the boys. 27, Flash Mob. I wish this one got a little more hype. I posted the video, didn't get that much feedback on it, and this one it was really hard finding a flash mob. First of all, this one was a Soca Southern Caribbean thing that I guess happens every year. Um, I didn't go to any practices. I just kind of like saw the routine online, learned it myself, showed up. It was in front of the Brooklyn Museum, and like kind of just like hopped into the group and did the dance. It was like a minute and a half, and that was it. It was like really like quick. It happened. It was like kind of like a blur. Like I just like was in it, and then I wasn't, and it was over. I'm like, what just happened here? That was cool, but like I wish it was just like it was just like a little bit more, a little bit deeper there. 28. Watch season 3 of The Wire in a day. So this was just the idea of I love The Wire more than any show ever. Seen it many times, but it was more of just the idea of lying on a couch all day, not doing anything except watching something back to back to back, ordering in food, and just lounging. Like was pretty much my major in college. I was really good at this once upon a time, so I thought, why not do it again and throw on The Wire while I do it? 29. Cryotherapy. Did it with my guy Adam Brown. Stepped into a cylinder, if you don't know what cryotherapy is, of freezing coldness, like minus 200 something degrees. Very cool. It's obviously something you need to do as a practice to really get the feeling of it, or the full um, all the positive stuff that comes along with it. It's more of a, do it again and again and again, keep getting better, or your injuries, whatever it may be. Felt fantastic afterwards. I didn't know if I wanted to just like sink into my chair or go like run a marathon, but definitely did something cool to my body. Would 100% do it again. 30, college football game. Um, so college football game. I made my way back to Ann Arbor with my boy Chubby, Brad Shapiro. Haven't been back to Ann Arbor in probably 16 years or so. Like, I went back to games, I think the first and second year after I graduated. Hadn't been back since. I went for a quick 24 hours in November to the Minnesota game, night game. Had a great time. I did a separate video or separate podcast actually on my trip to Ann Arbor. If you want a little more detail there. 31. Play basketball. This was just simple. I just love playing hoops. I don't get to do it that often. Wish I did more. Hope to get back into that when my boys get a little older and I have like some more ability to just kind of be out and about on a weeknight. No one got injured. Rented a gym on the Upper East Side. 8 of us had a great time. And again, no one got hurt. Massive success. 32. Record a 40-bar rap. If you haven't seen or heard this one, I'm kind of mad at you. I don't know how that happened. It's in the group in video format and audio format, or it's on the YouTube station at chrisheller.me if you want to check it there. This was probably the most fun I had through this whole thing, and it was something that like I knew was going to be one of my things that I really, really, really enjoyed. Um, I obviously love rap music, love hip hop. Um, Wrote some lyrics throughout the year. Like anytime I would just think of something, I would just like kind of put it in a memo on my phone, and then one day just like put them all together and wanted to make it 40 bars to just you know stick with the theme of this whole fun thing. And actually, the first time that I sat down and like mapped it out, like pieced it all together, it was 58 bars. So there's a bunch that didn't even make it to the recording session that are gems just sitting on the recording room floor right now. But please go listen to that or watch that if you haven't. It will make me happy. 33, meditation class. I did this at Mindful in Williamsburg. I spoke about this recently because the rest of these things all happened in the last month, really. So big meditation. Doing it in a class setting doesn't seem something that is necessary for me. I don't think something that I'm fine doing by myself. Would try it again, but didn't love it. 34, Saturday Night Live, and did these two, 34 and 35, Saturday Night Live and Woe Hop After Midnight in the same night a couple Saturdays ago with my guy Bryce Marcus. So I ended up, I didn't even know that like getting tickets to Saturday Night Live was hard. When I was talking to Bryce about this idea, like, in November of 2016 or something, he's like, oh, what are some of the things? And I said Saturday Night Live, and he happened to, that year, like at a charity event, got them in a silent auction. So he's like, oh, I have tickets. I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So that's kind of how that happened. I kind of just fell into that and got a little lucky with that one. So Bryce and I went to Saturday Night Live. Jessica Chastain was hosting. What a cool experience Saturday Night Live is. Just like you feel the history of it that comes along with just being in that room. Like obviously how much has like gone on there in the last 40 something years, however long it's been on, and just to see the mechanisms of a live show, how the sets are moving from here to here, and how the second you're off camera, you're being dragged, racing back underneath into the dressing room to get ready for your next thing. It's just like very cool experience. And then we hit up Wohop in Chinatown, which is a classic place, 24 hours, or maybe they might close from like 7 a.m. to like 10 a.m. or something like that. I think we learned that when we were there. Place I used to go once in a while. It's just one of those go-to classic late night drunk out spots to go have some incredible dirty Chinese food. If you haven't been there, highly recommend. It's like a dungeness place down these stairs, hole in the wall, probably 30 seats. And you just feel great while you're there. You don't feel great the next day, but while you're there, you feel incredible about life. 36, flotation tank. Again, I talked about this very recently because I just did it probably 10 days ago or so. I'm going to do this again, the floating. I recommend it. It is, I think this is, again, like the cryotherapy, something that over time is just you'll get better at it, and then you'll just dig deeper and get more, layers of whatever the ultimate goal is in there, just kind of letting go and letting your subconscious take over and come to life. 37, volunteer. So again, this was last week. I did it at the Bowery Mission, served breakfast, banana oatmeal to be exact, to 150 people or so. And we should all volunteer more. I believe it was Jen Rosenthal on the Past the 40, her episode, when asked, a question that I ask is like a call to action for other 40-year-olds. What should people do more of, or what should people go and do right away? Her answer was volunteer, which I thought was a fantastic answer at the time. Volunteer was on my list already, but yeah, I should do more of it because people need it, and that was easy and clear to see while being there doing it. 38 and 39 just happened a few nights ago. I went out dancing with my wife. I said 38 and 39 could also be called just dancing with my wife, which is a great way to end this whole thing, to have the night out with her. So 38 was Salsa Club. Now, this is not exactly what I had envisioned when I wrote Salsa Club, on my list a year and a half ago or a year ago, whenever I put this together. What I had envisioned was more like a scene in Scarface where the place is like a 2-button minimum instead of 2-bottle minimum. Like you can only have 2 buttons on your shirt closed. Really, like I would have to go like to the depths of Queens to find it. It doesn't open till like 1:30 in the morning. Everyone's like sweating. Just some like amazing dancers and like some makes me think of actually the opening scene of Wedding Crashers when Vince Vaughn is like mediating, and he's like, "Wouldn't you like a Latin guy just coming up to you, speaking languages you don't understand, taking you, needing you, wanting you, something like that?" And then he holds the stare for like an extra beat, which is just incredible acting. Anyway, but like one of those where like some like 6'4" incredible dude comes and like grabs Alexis and like whisks her around the dance floor, and then like a Cha-Cha Di Gregorio type comes and like takes me and like teaches me how to salsa for a minute, and then we like end up spinning back into one another, me and Alexis, and just our master salsa dancers. So it didn't happen like that. We went to Bembe, a place in Brooklyn and Williamsburg, which actually we had both been separately before, years before, which is a Latin club, or it's a place where they play Latin music, but some music that would be appropriate for salsa. Everyone was there who was dancing was doing that, like, Latin type of dancing, but there was certainly some reggaeton, some bachata, a little even hip-hop style stuff. So it wasn't really a salsa club, but we danced salsa style, and we went out dancing. And then we went to Bob. And Bob, if you don't know, is a little tiny sweatbox hip-hop club on Eldridge Street, which is probably the one venue that I've been to more than any other in the city, because it was always like my late night. All right, night's over, but I don't want to go home. Let's go to Bob and just like see what's going on. And back then, 15 years ago, it was always like ill hip hop because hip hop was good back then. Um, I hadn't been in years, and it's possible that the last time I was there was with Alexis on like our second date. Like on our last stop, like late night, we went to Bob, and I don't think I've been there since. And the really weird part of that is, for the last 4 years, we've lived around the corner from Bob until moving to Brooklyn, and we never went once, even though we walk by it all the time. Anyway, um, Bob is still great, except the music is now, for the new age of rap mostly. There was like a small little set of some old school stuff. We danced anyway, shot a Jameson and a beer like old times. Um, and then on our way out, we're like, all right, time to go. On my way out, I'm walking over to the DJ and telling him, just give me one Biggie song. I was gonna say it's my 40th birthday because I'm leaving. I need one Biggie song right now. On the walk out the door, and it's not a long walk. Like, it's a small place. But in those 3 seconds, as we're walking, Where Brooklyn At comes on. A, I was going to request a Biggie song. He played it. B, it's the thing that I did on hip hop karaoke. And it just seemed to tie everything together right. That went into Mo Money, Mo Problems. That went into, believe it or not, the theme song for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which was an interesting choice. We got those in, walked out the door, and that was a great way to end my last night out of this experience. And then number 40 is this. So yeah, I just thought today on my 41st birthday, and I was born at 6:15 p.m. So I'm officially still 40 for another hour and a half or so. I thought this was just kind of a great way to end it and tie it all together. And like I said, now I have this piece of content, this video with the list right in front of me talking about it that I can always refer back to and have as that, like, I don't know, this recap that this really special thing that I did. I said earlier today, I was like, it's kind of sad turning 41, not because I'm old, but because just saying goodbye to being 40, because being 40, I like took it to heart and like went forward with this whole idea and did this whole list of things that you see in front of you. And it was awesome. And I'm really psyched that I got to share it with a lot of people from my past, some new people who I like didn't know that just kind of came into my world through this. Has been awesome. And just that I can say I did these things. And actually, so one of my friends last night was over for the Super Bowl and said, now that you just did this 40 thing, like, what are you going to do for 41? And, my humorous response was, it's a lifestyle now, man. Just like, this is just what I do. Now, and it was funny, but at the same time, like, there's truth in that, in the respect of, I'm not going to be making a list of 41 things to do for my 41st birthday and so on. But I guess two principles that were at the core of this thing are, one, do things that you want to do. And very often we don't get to do that, and that was the premise that this was built upon. And I think I've been pretty good at that my whole life, actually, but forcing myself into these 40 things was awesome. And it's just a thing that I want to keep doing. Anytime I see things that I think are cool or want to try something, keep doing it. And the second principle I think here is treat yourself, which I definitely have been pretty good at through my life and plan to continue as well. So it is a lifestyle in that respect, and I do want to continue, thinking about number one once in a while, because sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle. But I think we're ready to wrap up here. Anyone who joined me in this Facebook Live, I appreciate it. And like I said, I appreciate everyone's participation and thoughts and comments throughout the last year or so. The group will still stay open. I know that my wife is making a list and she'll be posting it. I'll chime in, I'm sure, once in a while. We're going to have some more podcast episodes that I'll be posting here. So you haven't fully seen the last of me, but as far as my 40 list in the B40 group, we're out. We are done, complete, a massive success. And once again, thanks to everyone who was a part of it. Take care, guys.